Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. You know, I don't mean to brag, but when I get naked in the bathroom, the shower gets turned on. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Tattered Flags into the Whirlpool from Blue Panther. In Tattered Flags into the Whirlpool from Blue Panther, two players go ahead and reenact a very specific engagement from the Battle of Gettysburg in the United States Civil War on the second day of the battle, July 2nd, 1863. One of you will play the Confederates, one of you will be the Union Army. Now, here you have various command units which represent parts of a specific regiment, which in turn is part of a larger brigade. Now, at the beginning of every round, each of you will roll a die. This die will be an initiative check. You see who gets the initiative. Then what you're going to do is whoever gets the initiative can decide if they want to go first or if they want the other person to go first. And then you are going to look at your commanders who are commanding the various brigades, which of course are made up of those units in the regiments. And you are going to go ahead and assign an order. And there are different orders that you can assign to them. Now, these various orders are like postures. You can assault, which is going to give you your units more advantages when you actually make an assault. You're going to do a maneuver, which will give them certain advantages when they are moving. You can order engage, which is going to give specific advantages when you are in contact with the enemy. You are going to offer a defend, which can allow your units to kind of go to ground, to dig in, but also have opportunity fire. And then also you're going to have a regroup, where you're trying to bring your units back together again and up to strength. Now, also, if your commander is incapacitated, you may also get an indecisive action, which gives all of your units a -1 action. Now, what's unusual here is this is not a hex and counter game. It has stars. Ray, how do the stars work?
Stars, they shine. So the stars are actually really cool for movement because every star, of course, is going to have a different size on it. And for every one of your action points, you can either move forward along the point of a star, or you can pivot and you can go to the next angle, okay, and then go straight. So all of your units are totally going to have to move in a straight line. It just depends on if you want to use 1 point to move, 2 points to move twice, 1 point to move forward. And that's your basic movement.
So it's a very unusual kind of system, but critically, you've got to keep all the units from the same regiments adjacent to each other. That's a very important part of the game as well. Now, during combat, you have different kinds of combat. You have fire combat, and in fire combat, you're going to look at different factors. You're going to look at the elevation. That's right, this map actually has elevation on it. You're going to get plunging fire advantages if you look down, but you're going to see the range, and depending on the range, it's going to tell you what percentage of a chance you have for a hit. The plunging fire will add to that, but also, too, when you have a unit, you will only fire once with that unit, even if it has, say, 3 actions. You'll only fire once, and then those other 2 actions you can use for volley fire, meaning you can increase your chances. Depending on the range, you can get a percentage increase, a bonus for that fire action. Now, what you're doing is when you roll the die, you're actually rolling 2 die, a blue die and a white die, a gray die. And what you're getting out of that is the percentage number. So the blue would be the high number. And so if you rolled, 4 blue and a white 0, that's a 40%. So what you're doing is you're comparing that with all the bonuses you've got to see if you fall under that percentage rating, which results in a hit. Now, that's just 1 hit. You just put 1 hit marker on there. If you do, I think it's less than half of the percentage to hit,
half or less,
you put down a murderous hit.
So you're going to get a critical hit if, when you roll your attack dice, if both of the numbers are the same, so like you roll an 11 or a 22, that will result in a critical hit.
Assuming it's under your percentage,
correct,
right? Now, if you have the hit tokens next to the units, for every 1 hit token, you're going to just increase its disruption level, meaning you're going to put down a disruption marker. More on that later. But then also, if you get the murderous hit, you're actually going to take a casualty. You're going to flip that unit to its kind of battle-worn side there. It's taking some casualties there. A critical hit is also a murderous, and again, more on that later. Now, I say there's also disruption in this game. As you move over fences or through woods or across streams, your units are going to take more disruption tokens. Now, if you get up to 6 disruption tokens, that's the most you can take. If you take any more disruption, you're going to take casualties. Now, you can also have close quarters assault, bayonet fighting. Now, how this works is you're actually going to move a unit onto another unit that you want to kind of sweep off the ground. And as you do this, the defender is going to go ahead and roll a morale check. You're going to get, again, advantages for certain things like the strength of the unit, how experienced that unit is going to give you some positive modifiers. There may be other positive modifiers too. You roll the die and you check the chart. It may be that you get to return some fire before the actual assault. Then, if that works, assuming the attacker is still in a position to attack, he can go ahead and roll his charging morale. And then he looks on his charging morale, and again, it may have things like he has to retreat or he can push through. So different results can happen as a result of bayonet combat. Now, another aspect of the game is cards, and you can play with the cards or without the cards. The cards add a little bit more chance, but also some kind of realistic things that would happen on a battlefield, like trying to take out an enemy commander or whatnot. You're going to go ahead and draw cards you're going to start with 2 cards each, and then at the end of every round, you'll draw cards. But again, every time you roll doubles, anytime at all you roll doubles, you get another card. The cards state exactly when and how they can be played. So players are going back and forth. They are moving. They are defending themselves. They are attacking, firing. They are assaulting. They're doing all of these things on this board, trying to achieve the specific objectives of that scenario. Whichever side successfully completes their scenario within the required time wins. Tattered flags into the Whirlpool. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. All right, so Tattered Flags in the Whirlpool. Ray and I, we just played this. We played it, I guess we played it 3 times, technically, yes. Although we felt we were doing some things wrong, and we just played through the first scenario 3 times. And we were doing some things wrong, so we kind of went back and did it again. Well, I'll ask you, first of all, just your overall impressions. What do you think of Tattered Flags in the Whirlpool?
So, my impressions, I for a 2-player skirmish game that's not a hex and counter game, I think this is a fantastic game. I really, really like the way they set up the leaders to do the individual commands. And based on whatever command that leader has is what his different regiments are going to be able to do or what they're going to do. So that's actually really fun in that aspect, because you have to, if they're just doing nothing but movement, but you're going to have them do a bunch of assaults or digging or something later on, there's another chart you got to roll on to see if the leader can actually successfully change commands. Sometimes he can, sometimes he can't. The other thing I think that's really cool about this is every leader, based on their superiority or how well of a leader they are, they control command so many spaces away from where they're at. So if you have, like, say, your one regiment is kind of spread out, you got to make sure your leader stays relatively close to all of them. Now, forests are going to affect that. So when you're in forest, you got to keep everybody a little bit tighter and whatnot. So you got to really pay attention to your leader, because you don't want people to go out of command. And that whole aspect of the game, I think, is phenomenal.
I like that too, the way they exercise command. The way the commanders actually have to be within range, right?
And every command that they have, there's so many different things that each one of those can trigger. So, like, there's some things like regroup and stuff like that well, you can do if you're doing this command, but you can't do if you're doing this command. So you have to really pay attention to your commands. And yeah, that's one aspect of the game I just absolutely love.
Yeah. And I got to tell you too, I really, it took me a while to kind of appreciate it, but I really like the disruption system. How simple movements will be disrupted. You'll be fired upon, and it won't cause casualties, but you'll get disruption. And you're trying to keep your disruption levels down, because when you get to 6 disruption, if you take more, that's going to be casualties. And you can inflict that on yourself just by moving if you're not careful. Right. Now, you do have opportunities to, was it rally or regroup? I can't remember. Rally or redress?
I think it's redress.
When you can actually spend your points to kind of get rid of all of the disruption you've acquired that turn on movement, which is really cool. And you need that, otherwise you would be really screwed. But I really like that aspect of the game. I really like the combat system. I'm a big fan of combat tables and combat charts. And this one is pretty fun as well. I
Doesn't
think.
it spades? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it takes a little while. I mean, there's a bit of a learning curve to decode it, like in a lot of combat chart tables. But once you got it decoded, it's actually a pretty cool system. When we did Assault with the morale, really fun and interesting things can happen here. It's a good story, I think, that plays out with the Assault combat as well as with the fire combat in general. So it's also got, as I say, the card system, and we used the cards. We used the cards a few times. We didn't have a real card heavy experience. I think maybe in some of the later scenarios you'll use these more. But where we did use them, they were pretty good. Like you just were able to claim initiative one time with a card. He played try to like sharpshoot my leader, and he failed. But then I sharpshooted his leader, and I won. And then there's one that like adds 20% to a roll. Or no, I had something that gave me 20 extra percent, and then you played a card that like negated 20%, so it was kind of a wash. But so to me, that's the spice and the sugar of the game. And as much as I like the game without the cards, I don't know that I'd ever play it without the cards. I kind of like the chance and the surprises that the cards give you, and you never know. I'm going to move here and do this, which is a great move, but does he have a card that's going to screw me over somehow?
If you play this without the cards, you pretty much know, based on a dice chance, a percentage chance, what your opponent's going to have to do. But if you have that one card that you're just holding on to, it's like me, the card that I had against your leader, or the card that I had for the negative 20, I knew that I was going to be sending a garrison up, and I knew he had an artillery right there, and that's when I wanted to use that. So I had that card a couple turns prior, and I held on to it just for, as soon as I closed this all to that, boom, here you go. He hit me anyway. But still, it's fun. But that's the whole point. He didn't know I had that. He's thinking, man, I got this 80-90% chance. I dropped 20% off.
Yeah. It was 90, and it dropped to 70.
I know.
So so I still hit him, but I just hit him. It wasn't a murderous hit.
It would have been murderous otherwise.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, because I think I rolled like a 39 or something like. I can't remember what it was, but it was anyway.
Very cool. The card system is actually really adds nice to this game. Doesn't change too much, doesn't make it harder, doesn't make it longer, but it just adds that little bit of hidden surprise.
Well, surprise on a mechanical level, but also too, I think, on a thematic level too. It kind of draws you in deeper into some of the von Clausewitz said war is the realm of chance, and you really kind of get that from the cards. Okay, so let me ask you, is this a game you would buy? Would you buy this game?
Hands down, I would buy this game. This is actually, I think the more I play this game, the more I am absolutely going to love this game. There was a lot of confusion that we had trying to decipher the rule book.
There was some issues we had with the rule book.
I read the rule book. I watched Term 11 even do a rules video on this, and it's supposed to be an easy, simple game, and I think it is an easy, simple game once you decipher it. But I think this is actually a phenomenal two-player skirmish game, and the fact is, it has like 10 different scenarios.
Yeah,
12 different.
There's
scenarios.
A lot of replay value in there.
Oh, hands down. And even this one here, we played this one, this scenario here 3 times. Granted, we started a couple times and reset, but I never got tired of replaying this one, and I can keep replaying this one because you're doing different things, and these dice are always going to change the game.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be a different outcome.
And it is a paper mat, and thanks to Ray for bringing us plexiglass, because that was fun. I got to get me one of these. I still don't have one, but I think for what it is, maps look beautiful, counters look beautiful, tables look beautiful. Aesthetically, I think it's a good looking game. I think, as you mentioned, there were some issues with the rule book. There were some things that were not as intuitive as we would have liked, like movement for commanders and stuff. We were kind of searching for that for a while. A few other little rules here and there. But generally speaking, once you get into it, once you understand the basics of the game, it played pretty well, we thought. Okay, so let me go ahead and ask you, on scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate this one?
On your scale, I put this at about an 8.
Yeah?
I really like this for a 2-player game. All of the 2-player war games that we've played recently, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I absolutely like the way this is. I mean, I really want to dive into the scenarios of this game. I don't think I would get tired of playing this game. I actually want to I want to play the later scenarios because I want to do more. This initial scenario here, we only really got to experiment with a couple of the orders. Yeah. Because there's only a couple things to do, because I just had to barely move and hold the ground, and you had to stop me. So we didn't really interact with it too much. But some of the
But
other
I
scenarios,
do, and I do like that how you can't just change your command to your troops whenever you want. You have to roll
oh
for it,
yeah,
and you have to make sure you can. That again, and you have to say this. It's a war game. It's a dice and tables war game. There's a lot of chance in
a
this
lot of
game.
chance.
But I have to agree with you. I'd put this at an 8. I think all things being equal, it's an excellent war game. Once again, Herman Luttman knocks it out of the park. Great game. And this says, of course, Tattered Flags #1, so we can assume they're going to do more in this series. You know, like I said, I
Yes.
loved his Vive la Emperor about it was a solitaire Napoleon hex encounter game, and I loved that it had something similar with the core and activating
Yes.
the core and all the units in the core. I really like that when you've got kind of a command unit that can distribute commands to other units. Great game. I think this is phenomenal. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think you about said it all. Like I said, I agree. This is just a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
It's just a great game. Herman Luttman is becoming. I'm if his name's on a box, I want to play it. I know I've said that before, and I'll keep saying it again. I really, really, really like his games, and he's becoming one of my favorite designers.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining us today on another episode of The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter. Please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would really appreciate it. And please give us a thumb on Board Game Geek as well. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do like this video and the content we bring, I'd ask you to check out my other channel. That is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history and books on history. I post some of my lectures on there sometimes. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel as well. And of course, if you really enjoy the stuff we bring you here, please consider clicking on the super thanks button and leaving a tip. You know, I recently saw a dwarf climbing down a prison wall. It was a little condescending.